guys, welcome back to Best in Show Books. I'm Shelby.
I'm Jeanna.
We are independent booksellers. We are booksellers at an independent bookstore here in Nashville, Indiana, Naughty Dog Books, and that's where we are filming and where we film every week to bring you these episodes on Fridays. They are episodes. I always do this. It's too early. We've got to move this filming time later in the day.
More coffee, more alertness.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we bring every week episodes about books that we are reading, books that we like, books that maybe we didn't like, what the book clubs here in the store are reading. And this week, our episode is about a list that Goodreads compiled that we have some thoughts on. And it's books that everyone should read before they die.
Yep.
So they included some really old classics, 1800s, and then they went all the way to
some very modern ones.
Very modern books. Yeah.
So this list was very interesting. I noticed the beginning of the list seemed very classic, and then it got into some really modern. And I'm like, ooh, I would not have thought that would be one I would recommend. So I like the thought of like thinking through these. So when I was looking through them, I tried to pick ones I'd actually read.
Yeah,
not just ones I want to read, because there were a few on there I'm like, I still need to read that one. But I picked, my first one is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And I've probably no surprise to anybody. It like tops a million list every year of the most read, the best read, the need to read. But it is so good. And I have read it more than once. I don't even know how many times I've read it. I've read it at different points in my life, like young, as a mother, and it's just amazing. So it takes place in the 1930s in the Deep South. And Atticus Finch is an attorney, and he has two children, Scout and Jim. And there's a neighbor, Boo Radley, and then there's another neighbor, and my brain just totally blanked on the little boy's name that becomes their friend.
Dill,
thank you. I was like, my brain's blanked. Yeah, Dill. And these children experience life in the 1930s. They have a neighbor that's an older lady that has like tea with them. And then they have a maid who is black, who they have the experience of her life as a maid, and then her life going back home to where she lives. Atticus is wealthy family and a family of prominence in the community. So he is expected to behave a certain way, but yet he has a moral code that tells him differently. And we have another guest with us today. Arthur is here. And so if Arthur makes an appearance, he's very interested in all things books too. So we might, there you go,
He
buddy.
came charging down the stairs.
Yeah, he did. Yep, there he is. So Arthur wants to get in on this talk. So Atticus is an attorney in the South, and he, everybody respects him, but they also wonder sometimes why he picks the cases he picks. So the book centers on particularly one case where a black man is accused of raping a white woman, and it causes some turmoil within the community. It is a story that is just beautifully written, and Arthur thinks so too.
It's a serious story. I'm very sorry.
And then there's like dog hair, like dog glitter everywhere.
And he's okay.
And so
this is better.
This is better.
I couldn't even see you when you were talking, and his head was so big.
That's all right.
Okay.
And so the kids, have the ability to talk to Atticus like almost like adults. He treats them a little different than children.
Yeah.
Which makes some really good conversations between father and kids. I don't know. There's something about this story that I know it's been on a banned list a few times too. I don't agree with that because yes, it is about a controversial time in history, but I think it's very important to read. I think it brings some conversations to the forefront that you see what life was like, where we've come, how far we've come, and maybe both sides of the story in this book. You get both the black side of living in that South and the white side as the changes they wanted to make, or maybe the history that was still connected to the Civil War. It's one of those books that I can't say enough good things about, and I loved it. And I will admit, I have not read the second one. I don't want to read the second one because I don't want to spoil the first one. Like, the first one was so good on its own.
Do you like, because this is one where the movie adaptation is very well loved. Do you like the book better than the movie?
Yes and no, because the book is amazing, but I love the movie. I grew up watching the movie with my mom. It was one of her favorite movies. I feel like it's different enough that they can stand alone from each other and you can appreciate and love both. But to me, when I read the book, I did not even think about the movie. So I think both were so well done. But yes, the book is so much better. But hey, the movie, I can't think of his name. That plays the Atticus Finch.
Richard Peck.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck.
Oh, Richard Peck is an author.
Yeah.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory
Yeah.
Peck is fantastic as Atticus. And a friend of mine, they named their little boy Atticus because their dad's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I just thought that. So, yeah. It's a great book and a movie. Good movie.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Good choice.
Have you read it?
I have read it, yeah.
What did you think?
I read it in high school.
Okay.
As did most other people.
Yeah.
And this is my mom's favorite book, like one of her all-time
Yeah.
favorites. So I knew you guys had this in common. It was not one of my favorites.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but not one of my favorites. But I definitely see why it was added onto the list, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was To Kill a Mockingbird. So what book did you pick first?
My book that was on this list that I had read and agreed with was The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. It came out in the early 2000s, and this is a young adult book. The main character, Liesel, is a girl during World War II. I'm afraid he's going to, pow the microphone with his
has
paw.
words to say.
Yeah.
You have words to say. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Thank you.
So Liesel is a young girl in World War II, and one of the this is like a very dark book for the levity that is going on right now.
I keep getting
No.
I keep getting kisses.
Yeah, he won't stop. He's desperate. He's just,
We love you. Yes, we do.
just-
we love you.
he's like, yes, I love you. Okay, The Book Thief, guys. The Book Thief. Yeah, go over there,
I've got it
Arthur.
for a while.
This, you're probably hearing a banging too.
It's his
That's
tail.
his tail on this hutch thing back here. The Book Thief, Markus Zusak. Have you read that one?
I have not. I own it, and
Oh, okay.
I want to read it, but I have yet to read it. So.
Okay. So this is a World War II story. The main character is a young girl named Liesel, which I've said 5 times now. And the narrator is really what makes this story. And not only is the story itself good, not only does it have beautiful prose, but the narrator is death. So
Oh,
yes,
okay.
as in death.
Okay.
So you can imagine in World War II how
Interesting.
frequently, he is coming into play with all bombings and things like that. And so if I recall correctly, because it has been a really long time, Liesel comes to stay with a foster family. Her mother cannot keep her for some reason that is escaping me. And so the foster family takes her in, and she has a close bond with the foster father. And one of the first things she does in the book is she steals a book, and she cannot read. And so her foster father teaches her to read.
Aw.
And so throughout the book, you are seeing Liesel grow during World War II. She is learning to read. She is interacting with other people, and her love of reading. And I really can't say enough good things about this. But even though it has been so long since I read it, this is one that I'm frequently saying, you should read The Book Thief. You should read The Book Thief. And it's one I definitely want to reread. So
It's one that's been on my list for a while, and I owned it. So we homeschooled, and one of the girls in our class that we homeschooled with, it was her favorite book. And she read it her freshman year, 8th grade year, and she's like, Miss Jeanna, you have to read this book. And so I bought it after she told me that, and it just got in the pile, and I forgot about it. So when I was looking through this list, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I need to pull this one out and read it. So
the writing is very well done. And if I recall, it moves very quickly in this kind of prose style, and it's heavy for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You can't write a World War II book.
No.
I feel like that's not heavy.
No.
So, but that was included on this list amongst others like Frankenstein and The Scarlet Letter,
Yes.
which we talked about another one. I felt like that was a good addition.
It was.
But I was glad to see this one on here because I do feel like it's a really important moving piece of literature.
Yes, I agree with that.
You had a pick. I had a pick.
Uh-huh.
What's your next one?
My next pick is Animal Farm. I know this seems like we chose that
Oh my.
because of the animal.
Yeah, the irony.
The irony. Animal Farm is by George Orwell. And I'm sure probably everybody that's watching this right now has read this book. But if you haven't, it is amazing. The animals take over the farm. There's an uprising. The overworked, underappreciated animals decide the farmer is just taking advantage, doesn't have their best interest at heart. They know when they're going, they're being overfed to go to slaughter. They kind of figure things out. The animals take over and they talk, or at least you think they talk. I'm pretty sure they talk. I love the audiobook version because you can hear this voice of 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Oh, really?
The sheep is bleeded, and it's just hilarious. Okay, we're about to have a full-on dog load.
Yeah,
here.
he's got
Legs
all
up.
legs on Jeanna.
And it's one of those, the animals want this utopian, exacting world. They want justice, they want equality, but not every animal can read. So the animals that can read end up writing the rules, the Constitution, if you will, and they become the powerful animals over the animals that cannot read. The animals that cannot read are trusting of the animals that can, so they believe what they say, but then the animals that can read start moving into the house of the farmer and start becoming like the farmer. And the animals that can't read then are like, well, didn't the rule say this? Oh, no, you misunderstood. So they start changing things. So it is a book that I feel like is timeless because every point in history, there is some community, country, nation. I'm sorry. It's okay. That
Ridiculous.
that has their freedoms challenged, and I feel like that's what you get from this book is when freedoms are challenged. Yes, it's good to have an uprising and a changing in that, but there has to be checks and balances. And so it's a great book. I love it, and it's obvious that it's got humor to it because I mean, the pigs and the sheep are running the world and they're talking, but then there's also some very good real world aspects to this book. So did you read it?
I did read it. This is one I read in high school, and I remember I really enjoyed it. Yeah, sorry. You're also very petite, and he weighs like 85 pounds, so this is like...
He thinks I'm bigger than I am.
There he goes.
There we go.
See you later, Arthur.
I'm going to have a coat here in a little bit.
So read it in high school, and I really enjoyed it. You know, the symbolism and all the themes within it. But I will say when I finished it, look, now he's coming over here and he's waggling the cord. I finished.
Oh, it wasn't an earthquake. It was just an Arthurquake.
I finished it and I was like, wow. Okay. And it, you know, it's very heavy.
Yeah, it really
especially
is.
the ending. I was like, okay. And so this is one I definitely understand the importance. I see why it was on the list and 100% why you picked it. I don't know if I'd want to read it again. Yeah. You like having read it and but very important along with like Fahrenheit 451 and 1984,
Good
you know,
thought-provoking conversation books.
Yeah. 1984, Animal Farm, and Fahrenheit 451 are all ones that have seen like a resurgence in book sales.
We sell a ton of them
in recent years. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Dog hair.
Yeah. It's just dog glitter. It's just dog glitter. Yeah, and I think that was we read it again with my homeschool class, and it was really good conversation. So I think that's the point of some of those books sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is just those conversations, the debates. So maybe not the lightest of reading and the most, like, just to sit down to enjoy a book, but they are worth reading at least once.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we've had some heavier books here. The To Kill a Mockingbird, The Book Thief, Animal Farm. What's your next one?
My next one from the list that I totally agreed with was A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. And he is the author of The Kite Runner. Oh. Did you ever read that?
I did not, but I know what the book is. I mean, I remember the book, but I did not read it.
So, likewise, very heavy book. A Thousand Splendid Suns follows two women. One of them, Miriam, I believe. Jeez Louise. Me and my notes. Miriam is sent when she's 15, and she is sent into Kabul to marry a much older man, and he is very cruel. And then, like, 2 decades later, another woman comes into the picture, and her name is Layla, and she also marries this man. Oh. And so where The Kite Runner was a father-son story and, like, brothers, this is a mother-daughter women's story. And so you have these two women at totally different points in their lives coming together in a very rough circumstance. Is it a dog hair?
It's me.
Okay.
I can feel it. Sorry.
I can feel them on me too. So they come together under these really, really rough circumstances and just during the Taliban's rise in Afghanistan. And the book is so moving, atmospheric, poignant. I cried. Aww. And I watched some interviews with him because after thinking about this book again and seeing it on the list, because I read this probably back in college, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about why he wrote it. And so he left Afghanistan as a young child.
Oh, okay.
And it had been like 20 years since he went back. And so he goes back. And while he was there, he said, the people of Afghanistan are storytellers. And I loved that. And so he said, I would just go to like a wedding or something like that and sit down with people and they would tell me their stories. And so he was especially moved by the stories of women and young girls and the horrible things that they went through during the rise of the Taliban in Afghanistan. And so it was very interesting to hear his perspective on this book. And having read this one and The Kite Runner, I think this one is better than The Kite Runner. I enjoyed it a lot more. And so I would be curious if you have read either to know which one you think is better, because I saw a lot of other people also say they enjoyed A Thousand Splendid Suns more. And I think for a long time I was just living under this delusion that I was the only one out there. But there are many of us who loved A Thousand Splendid Suns so much that it got included on the Goodreads list. So
was The Kite Runner on it? I don't remember seeing The Kite Runner on it.
I don't remember.
I don't either. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if both or just this one. So do you think you like this one better because it was a female story, that it resonated with you with mother-daughter?
I think probably. Not so much like the mother-daughter, like I saw that, but the relationship between the two women and just the different ages, because one of them, they both enter the story fairly young, and I read it fairly young.
Sometimes it's a really good book and you really enjoy it and you're glad you read it and you want others to read it, but it's like, I don't know that it would be like my favorite book, because I don't know that I would, like Jane Eyre, I read often, but if it's a story that's just, okay, it touched me and I'm good, but like
I would read this one again.
Oh, okay.
It had some really tough parts, and I remember, specifically, like I can see scenes in my head, but I would read it again.
Okay.
The Kite Runner, I probably would not read again.
Okay. Not too heavy on my next one.
Yeah.
Is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
That's a good one. Good pick.
I know it's kind of a youth book. I mean, technically, but I have read this multiple times, multiple stages of life. The first time I read it while I was pregnant with my son.
Oh.
And so this one's set in, the countryside of England, and the kids have been sent out of London because of the bombings, and they are sent to the country to live with an uncle. And there are 4 children: Lucy, Edmund, and
Susan.
Susan, and there's one more, and Peter, thank you. And so I always think Lucy and Edmund are the ones that stick out to me in this book, because they are the two that stand out in the story and have the most difficult decisions in this particular book in the series. So when they go through the wardrobe, Lucy finds it first, and they're playing hide and seek. She goes through and she meets some of the most interesting characters. I mean,
Mr. Tumnus.
Yes. And they're just, the writing and the visual of this, even if you haven't seen the movie, you can see everything as he writes it and describes it. And then when the others follow her through, there's a white witch, and Edmund is feeling a little like he doesn't have a place in the children. And so he's tempted by the white witch to have some power and some influence. And I'm like, I don't know what it is about the candy.
Turkish Delight.
Turkish Delights, because they don't taste good. I've tried them. I don't get it. But maybe the hot chocolate might have.
Yeah.
She gets him in, and this whole story unfolds of, did he make the right decision? Did he end up hurting the kids and hurting Narnia? And then Aslan. Oh my gosh. Aslan. The beautiful lion that is just in control and the creator of Narnia. It's just a fantastic story. There are allegory parts to this that you can see Christ and the creation and the Savior and the laying down your life for others, the consequences of choices and your sin, or your just even your choices one way or the other. There's nothing about this book that I didn't like, and everything about it, I still cry. Even though I've read it, there is not a time that I have read this that I did not cry. It is beautiful. I do like the other books in the series. This one's my favorite, and then The Magician's Nephew. Those are my 2 top, and I know they're the first 2 in the series, but I highly recommend this to anybody, not even children, just adults, anybody who's not read it. And
did you read this as a read aloud?
I've done both, yes.
Yeah.
I read it to myself. I read it to him as a read aloud. He read it on his own because it was another school book that he had to read. And then we've done an audio. We've read it multiple times because he enjoyed it so much. We did several of them as audiobooks while he would play when he was little, and then we watched the movies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is one that I read by myself
Mm-hmm.
before I like got married or had kids. And then we listened to it as an audiobook where the kids were like kind of younger and they weren't really getting it.
Yeah.
And then most recently I read it aloud as a read aloud. And if you have ever read this story, trying to read it as a read aloud, especially when you get to the stone table, I mean, I was
I'm gonna cry now.
sobbing.
Yeah.
I just, it is so moving. And then you watch the movie, and I think the movie is so well done, which is like,
did a great job visually with
again,
this movie.
crying. Like,
Yes.
oh, it's so good. So I was really pleased to see this on here.
Yeah.
And I agree. This is one
Yeah.
just excellent
It is
edition.
an excellent book. And even if you aren't of a faith, the book itself, by just a standalone story,
Oh, yeah.
is fantastic. But if you are of faith and are Christian, you definitely see the tie-ins, and you see how C.S. Lewis was using this to reach people and tell a story for younger kids to understand Christian aspects and themes. So it's just, to me, it was beautifully written and a perfect story.
Yeah.
I have to say that. I do agree with that. So you have one more?
I have one more.
Okay.
And it's kind of ironic that it's following yours and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So one that was on this list that I really did love, and it's kind of weird to say everybody should read it because it happens to be the last in a series. So when I say that, I feel like don't just read it by itself because it won't make sense.
You got to read all of them.
I mean, if you want to. This is a loose edition for me. Okay. But I thought I would talk about it. So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the last book in the Harry Potter series. Have you read?
I've read a couple of the first two, but I've not read any further.
So the 7th book is easily the darkest book in the series, and it is like the ultimate climax, the final battle of good versus evil with Harry and Voldemort. And it was really good. And I remember reading this. I was one of the many Christian children who was not allowed to read Harry Potter when I was younger. And then I went to college and I was like, I'm reading Harry Potter. And then like one summer I just read them all. And I really, really like this one. You know, when the series starts out, I think he just turns 11. He gets like his letter on his 11th birthday. So there's a lot of lightness in the early ones. And then when you hit the 3rd book, it starts to trend much darker. And then the 7th one is very dark. And so there's a lot of symbolism in this, and there's a lot of sacrifice. And I think this book, J.K. Rowling did a very good job tying all of the loose ends together. I know J.K. Rowling, people have really strong opinions on her and on this series. And especially if you look at, you have people who are like, Harry Potter is the worst, the absolute worst. I'm not letting my kids read that. More power to you. And then I think it's interesting to contrast it with the Narnia series, which also has magic, also has good and evil, has similar themes of courage, sacrifice, loyalty, love, and
family.
Family.
They're very strong in both series, I think. Family.
They each have their values, but all that to say, I think this was a really good book. I loved it. And now my daughter is 9. Well, she's turning 9 in like 10 days.
Oh, that's right.
I can't believe it. So she has, having grown up with like a mother who has a bookstore, she is very, I don't want to say well-versed. She knows, she hasn't read like them all, but she has read a lot of the kids' classics, and she knows what this is. She knows what that is, but she has not read Harry Potter. She has not seen Harry Potter. And I very much wanted her to wait until she was around his age to start. And then at that point, we can assess the appropriateness of it. Because, you know, each child can handle things differently at different ages. And I know for sure she could read several now and be fine. My son would be like, you know, kids are wired differently. And so with her getting closer to Harry's age, I am going to start rereading them. Maybe we could buddy read all of the Harry Potter books. It's an idea.
Yeah, because I've never, so Clay, sorry, my son, I should probably say names on.
His name is Clay.
And so he's an adult now, so.
In case we talk about Clay,
So I knew Harry Potter. I was not a child when they came out. I was a little older, but I saw all the controversy. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but I had a really good friend who was reading them and then letting her kids read them. And I trusted her Christian point of view. And she's like, I think you'll be okay. So I read the first one and I was like, do you want to read this? He's like, no.
Yeah.
It just didn't appeal to him. Like, he's not that kid that liked the magic. He liked the real books, like Sign of the Beaver.
Right.
He loved those. I loved them. I thought they were really good. And I read the first two thinking he was going to read them. And then when he didn't, it was just a time in my life that I needed to read the things he was reading. So I stepped away. But I would really like to read them all.
That could be really interesting if we did a series on like a deep dive into every book, because there's a lot of symbolism there and, you know, tying them all together.
And I like learning that I think there was some misconception when the books came out, like what her point was of writing these. Like, they weren't demonized. I think she wrote them as Harry grew. So I think they were, those kids that came out with them in the first part, they were growing along with Harry. So I think that was kind of a neat thing for those kids of that generation to have, that every year a book came out and they grew with him. Yeah. And I kind of hate that I was too old and didn't get to grow with him.
Yeah. And that, you know, that was back in the time of books came out and they had the midnight, you know, releases and everybody went to the parties. Yeah. And then there I was at home like,
I can't read this.
I'm not allowed to. And I know people still, you know, I have friends who have let their kids read them really young. And I have friends who are like, we will never read them. So everybody has their own opinions on it. But I really enjoyed this one. And I thought it was interesting seeing it on the list. Were all of them on there?
There were multiple ones. I don't know because I didn't pay attention to which numbers they were, but I did see a couple of the Harry Potter books on there. So I don't know if they were all on there or not.
You definitely shouldn't read it in isolation. Like, don't
read the last one first.
Yeah, come on. But
and they're young books, so they're not hard books. So you could read the series, I think, pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
that would be a good idea, though.
Yeah.
You never know, folks.
Arthur.
Hi, Arthur.
You're not getting up here again.
We love you, but I have enough fur on me. I have enough fur on me. So we would really, Arthur included, wants to know what you thought of the list that we chose, and maybe if you go to Goodreads and look at the list and see what you think, or if there are books that you just think, hey, I read this, it's amazing, and we think you should read it before, you know, once in your life. Do you want some coffee? Once in your life. So
yeah, what do you think should have been included on the list? And if you hear him growl, I think the FedEx guy, the UPS guy is coming, so ignore the growls. But, or the dog burps. Yeah.
All right. So thank you for joining all of us today. I'm Jeanna.
And I'm Shelby.
And this is Arthur. And we are Best in Show Books by Naughty Dog Books.